Hey everyone, John here with an exciting person who is running for the male delegate of the DNC. And let us start by introducing Bob.
Good, yeah. I'm Bob Colt, and I have been on the Democratic State Committee for some 28 years and very involved in that. The Democratic Party, besides my family, is, right to the core. I have been some 21 years as chair of the Bylaws Committee, 21 years serving on the Executive Committee. So I've been involved in everything, but I get involved in the Youth Services Committee, bringing young people into the party and to the Democratic State Committee. And I have been on outreach, action agenda, rules, charter, so the whole bit. I really involve myself completely. I would like to be, though, on the Democratic National Committee, because that's where a lot of the new action will be. We'll talk on that a little bit.
Now, you told me that you used to do a cable access show.
Right. Yeah.
So we're a little bit different with the technology, but it's the same theory. Now, you had some pretty exciting guests on that.
Yeah, no, I had a show for 16 years called The Bob Colt Show, and it was great. We built up from the Martha Coakleys and Steve Grossmans and Joe DiNucci's to the Congressman Kennedy at the time, the older one, the father of the present congressman. And I had Ted Kennedy on twice, the U.S. Senator. So he was an amazing interview, as most of them were. I really enjoyed talking with him. The first time it was the morning after the Iowa caucuses, and so
he must have been pumped.
Right. So we talked on that for a while, and then I made almost the mistake, but it was great, of asking him what his priorities were for the next legislative session. And about 7 minutes later, when he had touched on every national issue and how he was going to address health care and hunger and everything else, I realized that, he can do a monologue, but he's a very special man.
We had him... you're good friends with Phil Johnston.
Yeah, we were good friends. Yeah.
We had him, Senator Kennedy, down for when Phil retired, and it was really an incredible thing. He retired from the state party, and Ted Kennedy came down, and he had a big dollar donation fundraiser, and then he comes down and spends time with this small, I think we're $20 a plate, maybe 100 activists who were big supporters of Ted. And it was exactly what you said. He had his speech. He did his speech, and he gets about maybe 15 minutes in his speech, and he goes, "You know what? This is boring. I'm just going to talk to you guys." Yeah. And he starts talking all the issues. Just an amazing candidate. Now, you've had the opportunity to interview his nephew, too, right?
Right, yeah. So that, Joe Kennedy, the senior congressman, who was congressman living out of Cambridge and Brighton and so forth. He was a guy I really got to know. I'd go to family picnics that he would run. I knew his sister very well, and I would bring him in for literally 10 shows over the years. And I think some of it, he would like it because he would be going on Meet the Press or some great, national show. And, to get to talk about those issues was really special for him too. Wow. So that was a lot of fun.
And now you've got a third generation at this point of Kennedys that you've actually interviewed on.
Right. Yeah. So I like obviously Joe, and someday he may be U.S. Senator. Or
we'll see. Right. Pretty exciting. We have. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is pretty exciting about being a Massachusetts Democrat. We have a seriously good backbench of young Democrats coming up. So talk more about your life in the party.
Right, yeah. So first of all, after graduating from Boston University as a government major, I started campaigning for people I like.
What was the first campaign?
Well, I mean, I did a lot of local ones. Right, right. Senator Sal.
That's where you always start, right?
Yeah, the state senator, and we won, and I would play golf with him and really get to know him. I got to know Michael Dukakis fairly well,
Right,
so I
right.
work on all his campaigns, and politics was a real joy. I at different times said, how can I become more involved? I really want to talk on issues. I really want to be someone that's in the mix of things. So I decided that I was going to run for the Democratic State Committee.
So you
And-
started with the grassroots, got
Right.
involved with local campaigns.
Right, and then one of the state senators said, "Hey Bob, you're good at this. You're my friend. What do you think about taking on an incumbent in a caucus?"
Oh, wow.
And so that, as people that know the structure, is a big deal.
So you had a
because-
caucus fight. That's
right, so
over
it was a
tough.
caucus fight that I had to go up against a guy who is now a state rep, but at the time was a very popular city councilor,
Right.
and he was strong, and he basically went into it with 60 votes or so.
Oh, wow.
And
Now,
so,
what was the district?
so the district was Somerville, Medford, and
Oh, now that's
Winchester.
hardcore. That's some hardcore
Right.
politics.
So I mean, this against a real strong Medford candidate, and so I would make phone calls every day from about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, usually 5 o'clock when I'd finish work at
Right.
the Attorney General's office, and I would talk with people till 9 o'clock at night and go to all the events, and then caucus day came. To make a long story short. I pulled in, a whole lot of progressives, a whole lot of good issues people, and, shocked this city councilor, and that I beat him handily. So that's how I got on the state committee as a caucus seat. And later on, after a number of years there, and even going through one, decided to run for the ballot seat, where it was the whole district.
Right, so you got the entire
presidential-
year, yeah.
presidential primary. So I got into it. I threw a fundraiser. I instantly got $8,000 for a little fundraiser, and I was great. And I was doing, standouts. I was doing everything.
Visibilities and all the like.
And here is the crazy part. In one standout in one year, I had this guy come up to me on the street, and I was holding a sign, and he started talking to me about every issue on the national level.
Oh, it's happened to all of us,
And
yeah.
he was boom, boom, boom. And he, I said, I want to get your name. And he said Barack. It was Barack Obama.
Are you kidding
Who was
me?
in law school
At
at
Harvard.
Harvard and living in Somerville on Broadway. So, that was
Wow.
the strangest person you're ever going to meet. And he was so brilliant even then.
And of course, he's got such a unique name that you're
Right,
going to
and
remember
you're
the
going to
name.
remember Barack. And
Right.
you'd say, oh, I never heard that name before.
So I got to meet, the first time I met Barack Obama he was the senator from Illinois,
Right.
and he came for Deval Patrick's fundraiser. I'm sure you remember that. And I was big involved, like you, with Deval.
Right.
Deval came out of the staging area with Barack Obama.
Right.
And I happened to be standing there with my first grade teacher. And he turns the corner and runs smack into us, and I got to introduce my first grade teacher, who I have dyslexia, everyone, as you probably know from my spelling mistakes. She was the one who found that I had dyslexia and helped do the whole thing.
Right.
I got to introduce her to the future president, which was amazing. Which, for you, I mean, that had to be just mind-blowing when you started to see him on the national
Oh,
level.
yeah, it was. I, of course, went to when he spoke at the convention in Boston,
Which was
with
amazing.
John Kerry, and he gave this, hall-rattling speech, basically. And so I followed him and obviously supported him, and got to meet him at different times, and being a national delegate to the conventions, you'd get his Christmas cards,
Christmas cards and all the
kids
other
would-
stuff.
It was sort of like that.
Now, I know you're a progressive because I see you on all the progressive campaigns. Who was your favorite?
Well, I guess it comes pretty close to Kennedy on that level. But I worked for Scott Harshbarger
Oh, yeah.
for 16 years. So I worked on his campaign and as a paid staffer in 1982 when he first ran for district attorney.
Right.
He was taking on an incumbent. We worked it very hard. I was doing field all over, and we won by a significant margin. So he asked me to come into the DA's office as Director of Community Education, and I did that for 8 years. Later worked the Democratic Coordinated Campaign when he was running for governor,
Right.
and I worked 8 years in the Attorney General's office as a special assistant to the Attorney General. So he was a favorite. Obviously, I liked Duvall, I liked Michael Dukakis, and a number of others.
But it's always that first campaign.
Sure.
You never seem to recapture it, but at the same time, you're always looking for that again,
Sure.
right? That feeling.